international conferences that we've had in Nigeria and the recent one in Thailand, Senator Inhofe wrote to the President of Nigeria and also the Prime Minister in Thailand encouraging them to come. And so it's been very involved. Also, he is a co-sponsor, Senator Inhofe is a co-sponsor of the Youth Promise Act that you're going to be lobbying on the Hill. And the third, I'm going to let Joel talk about because we have been working on this legislation for a long time and just share with you very briefly where we are. People just keep eating and they'll be handing out desserts or whatever, but Joel had to leave and I wanted to thank him and publicly for all the support.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm so impressed. Charlie can really pack them in. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Okay, let's see if we can get this. There we go. I'll bring it closer.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about Senator Inhofe's bill dealing with foreign prison conditions. Charlie brought to our attention a couple of years ago the horrific conditions in some of the developing countries. And I don't know if you know this, but Senator Inhofe has a deep interest in Africa. He is the most traveled senator in the history of the Senate to Africa, 127 country visits in 16 years. And we have seen a lot of horrible and horrific conditions. And Senator Inhofe, as you know, is more on the conservative side of the political spectrum. But he teamed up with Senator Leahy, who is more liberal on the political spectrum, and we have introduced a bill called the Foreign Prison Conditions Improvement Act. And we're hoping to get it passed here within the next couple of weeks, but it does specifically two things. And that is, there's a recognition that in developing countries, you have really broken administrative systems because most of it's in paper, and you use pieces of paper. Nothing's been computerized. And an example of that is when the earthquake occurred in Haiti, there's been a lot of money, and you see a lot of stories about rebuilding the presidential palace and roads and hospitals, but nothing really about the prisons. And even if you put bricks and mortar to rebuild these places, you still have papers that are lost. And there's been a number of cases where there's been prisoners who've been serving years on their sentence, and they should have been released years ago. So Senator Leahy had a great interest in Haiti in this specific issue. So we took that issue and we combined it with Senator Inhofe's passion, and that is improving health standards in Africa. And as you know, in some of these horrific prisons, you have people, 500 people in a cell that's supposed to hold 50. And no matter what your sexual orientation is or anything else like that, the fact is that the spread of AIDS in some of these prisons is just rampant. And the whole purpose of prison is to serve your time in rehabilitation, so at one point you're going to be released from these prisons. Unfortunately, it's an incubator of the spread of AIDS. So Senator Inhofe says we need to do something about it. So we combine these two issues, and Senator Inhofe and Senator Leahy have created a bill that calls upon the State Department to train their Foreign Service officers who are around the world, but obviously this is specifically focused in on Africa, but around the world on developing countries to go and reach out to the prison officials in these countries and say, we are offering you the ability to fly in through our foreign visitors programs, experts in the American prison system. Wardens, administrators, organizations, to come in and walk through and talk about what can be done. This is not one of these cash cow types of programs that we're going to open up our checkbooks. We live in these days of sequestration, so it's difficult. But it is the opening of a door where they can come back, and we have bilateral assistance programs with a number of these countries where the U.S. Agency for International Development gives many millions of dollars to a number of these countries, and that can figure into their request for next year. And so what this bill is trying to do is start a dialogue and to recognize the dire need for improving foreign prison conditions. So just wanted to give you a little bit about that from an international perspective, but also say thank you so much. You're doing the Lord's work here right at home. I'm born and bred from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and met a couple of folks from Oklahoma as well. So thank you so much for your work, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. And just so you know, Annalise Hafer, who is a former legislative director, is a volunteer with CARE, wrote the summary of our legislation, and foreign prison conditions is on that list. Okay, thank you, Joe.
That's right.
Appreciate it.